2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. What steps do I need to take to be ready for a new relationship? Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
What's up, Tyler?
What's going on, Brandon? How you doing?
Oh man, I got to tell you about my morning.
Okay, what's going on?
It was one of those days. So I wake up, it's a great morning, beautiful day. It had just snowed a little bit. And I'm thinking I got to get on the road soon because it snowed and the roads could be bad and stuff. So I go out to my car and realize that my car, the one car of ours that's not parked in the garage, doesn't have a scraper in it. And so I go into my garage. So I'm like ready to go to work. I'm ready to scrape my car and go to work. I go into my garage to get a scraper out of my van, and my van is locked inside of my garage, and my keys are already in my car. So I'm like, oh man. So then I'm like, hey, I guess I got to go inside, get another set of keys so I can unlock the van, so I can get the scraper. And I go inside, and right when I walk in, my dog had just thrown up.
Oh gosh.
And so I go to clean up the dog throw up, and I like wipe it all up, and I go to throw it in the garbage, and there's no like bag in the garbage. And so I'm like, I can't even throw away my dog's vomit. Like, what the heck? You know? And so then finally I get that all cleaned up. I get the scraper out of the van, and just to like throw salt in the wound, I get in my car, scrape it off, turn on my windshield wipers, and my wiper falls off.
Oh, it was frozen to the windshield still.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
so,
Brandon.
This is how I look at it, man. It's going to be a great day because it started with some resistance.
It can't get any worse.
Yeah, it started with some resistance, so something miraculous is going to happen today, right?
Hopefully. Yeah. I'm sitting here wondering too, like, man, maybe this is a sign that there's something out of order in your life here.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that is a rough start to the morning. I was wondering why you were late today, but now it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, our guests must be awesome today because there's resistance to getting to them. So
that's right.
No pressure here, Shea.
Let's get to it. So Shea, we're glad to have you on the show. Why don't you just introduce yourself and ask your question?
Okay. So I'm Shea, and just a little background on me. My dad has a sex addiction. He's in his 70s now and never really addressed anything. He was also really physically abusive for me and my brothers growing up. So my dad's been married 4 times. My mom's been married 3. So I grew up with a lot of fear about marriage in general and what that would look like, and really didn't want any part of it because it looked pretty terrible. Ended up serving a mission for the LDS church. And like during that process, just felt like my heart was softened towards marriage, and came home with a desire to get into that, and knew that I had been through trauma as a kid, and got in some therapy in college, trying to address my issues. But really that was only like 4 months of therapy. And now that I know what I really needed, it wasn't as much therapy as I needed. But knew that I didn't want to get into a relationship where pornography was an issue, having watched what my dad, what that was like with him. And so met my husband, asked him all the questions about if he had an addiction or what his experience was with pornography and all that. And he lied to me about it all. So then fast forward 10 years into the marriage, he comes and confesses, and basically, my whole world got turned upside down, and felt like I was living in my worst nightmare because I had tried to take all the steps that I could to prevent that. So first thing I did was go to an ARP group where I met, sorry, I might get a little emotional today.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Met some of the most wonderful women that really got me plugged into the tools that I needed and helped me take the steps that I needed to move forward and address both my childhood trauma and the betrayal trauma. I got in with a really great therapist, did a lot of EMDR. I spent a whole year of EMDR just on my childhood trauma, and which was amazing. I love EMDR. It's awesome. Highly recommend it for everyone out there. And then just moved forward on a path of healing. I've been on an incredible journey for the last 3 years of healing, and really learned how to set some boundaries. Came to a point in my marriage where I felt like I was moving forward, but my spouse didn't feel like he was working recovery, and just came to a point where I felt like I had to submit to God, whatever his will was for, me and my family. And so I just told him, that I would submit my dreams of creating the family that I didn't have when I was younger, submit my marriage, submit my will to whatever he wanted me to do, but he had to make the answer really clear. And he told me that I needed to file for divorce, and made that very clear that that was the right path for me to take. So I took those hard steps forward and kept moving in that direction. A lot of times it felt like I was taking a step in the dark, and I was just going to go off the end of a cliff, and he just kept putting ground under my feet. So I took those steps. I'm divorced 6 months now, and the more steps I've taken away from the relationship, the more that I know it was the right thing for me to do. I've experienced more joy than I ever thought was possible being a divorced mom, because that was my worst nightmare growing up, something that I didn't want to put myself or my kids through, but it's been the right decision for me. And I just didn't know this much joy was even possible. So now I'm happy to know that I can create a life of joy and happiness and progress and moving forward as a single person, because I'm experiencing that. But I also do have a desire at some point to get into a relationship, but I want it to be a healthy relationship. And I want to make sure that I've done my work, so that I'm coming to the relationship, the healthiest version that I can be. And so I don't know, I just want to make sure that I've taken the right steps and what steps I need to take. And then how do I know when I'm ready?
Those are all really good questions, Shea. Holy cow. It sounds like you've had quite a journey over the last, decade plus. And it's pretty amazing to hear you and see your body language as you talk, be so grounded in the place that you're at, given the things that you've been through. Could I just ask you, as you're kind of looking, I like the idea of looking into the future, but only maybe not really seeing much. There's the darkness that you just kind of have to step into over and over again. What are as you're thinking about a new relationship, what are your biggest concerns or worries about that right now?
I would say probably the two biggest ones is that, I don't know how to say it, that I'll be tricked again, that I'll get into something that I think is one way and then find out that it's not. And then I have a lot of fear. Well, I don't know if it's fear, but I have a deep desire to be cherished by a man. Because I feel like I never had that as a child from my own father. And then I haven't experienced that. I didn't experience that in my marriage either. So sometimes I get worried that I just don't want to be desperate for that. Like, I want to know that whether someone cherishes me or not, I am worth cherishing.
So I want to highlight some things, Shea, as you're talking. Like, you've done a load share of your work already. It's incredible what you've done, and that's led to your divorce. Actually, you getting healthy. It sounds like really getting conscious and aware of your trauma and your past, reprocessing that, desensitizing some of that. And it's leading you to actually having some real boundaries in your life. You probably didn't have that when you first married your husband. So here you are already showing up different with attachment, right? But what you just said is actually really awesome. So what you just said in a conscious way, understanding your trauma and some of your traps here, is I want to be cherished by a man. And this will get you locked into something you don't want to be in unless you really look at this and make sure that you're grounded and that you're solid outside of that desperation to be cherished by a man, right? But just the fact that you're aware of that, and just the fact that you can speak it to us and be conscious of it, you're way ahead of a lot of people who would be in your position, right? So I want you to understand that first and foremost. That's awesome that you're conscious of it and that we're talking about it. Okay. Tyler, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing as you're talking, Brandon, that the desire to want to be cherished by a man is not a problem. Like, that's basically built into just about every woman that I talk to. And that's totally fine that you want that. And it sounds like the challenge is that there's a difference between having the compulsion to need to be cherished by a man and the desire to be cherished by a man. And that's what it sounds like you're trying to figure out, is if I'm being driven by the compulsion to need somebody to cherish me, then I'm running the risk of getting into a relationship that could look right at the beginning, but actually be wrong. Versus if I'm staying grounded in knowing who I am, working towards understanding this idea of who God has told me that I am, I definitely going to have my eyes wide open to a partner that's going to cherish me.
But we're talking about two different things. So, yes. And Shea, I want to ask you, so like when you say, I want to be cherished by a man in this kind of unhealthy way, what are you wanting from that man? What are you wanting from that relationship when you're in that unhealthy place?
I think to be seen. Okay. And I just feel like I haven't ever really been seen.
Okay. And if
part of that might be that I didn't know myself well enough to even let myself be seen, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like hiding a lot because of the shame that I felt and not knowing who I was.
Right. So I don't know who I'm going to kind of reword this and tell me if I'm off on this, Shay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know who I am, or I don't know if I'm desirable or valuable. And so I want him to desire me and see me so then I feel like I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
You know, now that you say that like that, I mean, I do feel like I was in that place. I don't know that I'm in that place anymore, because I have been on just this journey of figuring out who I am and that I am lovable and I am worthy. I am enough. Like with all of the EMDR I've done, those truths has really been driven home for me. Right. So I don't know if I'm in that place anymore, I guess. Right. I think I have been.
Right. I think the real healthy place is what Tyler said, is it's okay for me to want to be desired and connected to in a relationship. And I know I'm desirable regardless. So it's this kind of paradoxical place of, I don't need it. I'm fine, but it's okay that I do desire that. Right. So it's this, you'll have this confidence and this self-assurance that things are okay. That's like the really healthy place to be. So then you're not showing up in desperation in that relationship. And it sounds like what you're saying, Shay, is that you feel like you're there, that you have that, right?
Yeah.
I imagine it probably will fluctuate a little bit back and forth. And the reason why I think it's important that we're talking about this particular point is that, like you're stepping back into a world trying to find something that's authentic where there's a whole bunch of counterfeits. And the beginning of most relationships can sure look like the thing that you want. And if you're not grounded in the place of knowing who you are and then liking what you're getting, if it becomes the thing where, let's say you start dating somebody and instantly right off the bat, they do nothing but, send you flowers every day and call you 12 times a day and tell you how amazing you are, and that they just 100% cherish you right off the bat, a lot of times that's a big red flag towards what's going to end up being an abusive relationship. But if you get those things and you're at the end of the day checking in with yourself and saying, okay, that was really nice, but I'm going to take some time and I'm going to keep my boundaries, and I'm going to make sure that inside of that time, there's going to be lots of different kinds of settings that we're going to get to know each other in and see each other in. And I'm going to have the right kinds of conversations over time. And I don't have to have that right now. You're going to be in pretty good shape to sift through some of those things that you will run into now that you're going to be back in the dating world. And I think it's fair to acknowledge that there's a little bit of fear about that, because the truth is that you do have to learn how to discern some things for yourself. And if you're in the place that you're talking about right now, you're already setting yourself up through those boundaries and through the work you've done. It's so awesome to hear you say, I know that I'm okay by myself, and it's actually really beautiful. That tells me that you've done some really hard work to actually like being with yourself. And if you're in touch with that, you're way less likely to go jump into a quick relationship that's going to end up burning you again.
Yeah.
Shay, how did you get tricked before with your husband? When you say you don't want to get tricked again, in what ways did you not see things? Like, did you dismiss things and just put your head in the sand? Was he a really good manipulator? And I'm not trying to get you to talk crap on him or anything. Right. But I want you to really think about you. Like, in what ways did you just miss things, and how?
Well, I don't think I was as knowledgeable as I am now about what addiction looks like and what behaviors go along with that. I do think that there were red flags that I did dismiss. And I do think some of it does go back to my childhood and the connection that I had with my dad. I didn't even know how disconnected we were. So then to be in a marriage where I was disconnected, it just felt normal to me.
Okay.
Like there was about 4 months of really good when he was working recovery where we felt connected, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, I didn't even know what I was missing out on. Like I didn't know what that even looked like to feel connected like that.
Could you give some contrast to the difference? Like
those 4 months versus the other times.
Yeah, like what felt different? What was different?
That's a good question.
I know it's hard to put it in words, right?
Yeah. It just felt like we could share in a new way, like share where we were at and share our feelings, and just a closeness that I hadn't experienced before. It did feel like there was honesty and vulnerability at that time. And like prior to, it was, you hear ladies say it all the time, but I did feel like something was off. And every once in a while I would ask, are you looking at pornography? And I would be told no. And I would think, oh, it's just my daddy issues coming up or my trust issues coming up. And that's why I'm feeling that. It's not really him. He would never do that kind of thing. And I did dismiss my gut a lot. I didn't even know what that meant, to listen to your gut. So I am practicing that and learning that, but that's still new for me.
So he would tell you one thing and your gut would tell you another, and you would second guess yourself and just like go along with what he was telling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you say you're starting to learn what it felt like, you didn't know what it mean to like trust your gut. Are you able to distinguish what a gut feeling is now versus what like a fear-based like line of thinking is?
That's a really good question, because sometimes now when I'm around people, I'm like, my gut's telling me that something's off here and they're an addict. But then I don't know. I'm like, is that real or is it just my fear coming up? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have you had moments where you're able to distinguish between those two things, or is it still just kind of all messy and clouded together?
It's still pretty messy.
Yeah. I think that's what's one of the hardest thing about stepping back into like the world you're going to step into is that you're going to get lots of feelings, and some of them are going to feel like gut feelings, and some of them are just going to be maybe the old issues you were talking about. And one of the things that you get to do is practice learning which one is which, and then sticking with whatever feels like the gut feeling. So for some people, it's hard to even put into language, because it's like when the head and the heart line up, you get the gut, but sometimes the heart can just be overpowering and it feels like you think it's the gut. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
And I think, Brandon, you could correct me if you feel like it's different with this, but what I usually will tell my clients when they're trying to learn to trust themselves again is to start with their gut first and trust it, and then check out whatever's going on rather than the other way around. And that's one way to protect.
What do you mean? What
I mean is like, so if I'm having like this question in my head, like, man, my gut's telling me that this person that I'm dating right now, it's not quite right. I'm not necessarily going to go throw it out altogether, but I'm also not going to lean towards the side that I used to lean to, which is like, oh, that's all my past trauma issues. Those are my daddy issues. I'm just going to go full send into this new relationship. I'm actually going to probably err on the side of starting with what my gut says and say, I better slow this down a little bit, and I better give myself some time to practice some boundaries, maybe have a conversation or two, see what it feels like in those conversations. I'm going to trust what my gut feels like it's telling me as I check out the facts around it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But to me, there's a really different feel. And the heart feeling, the emotional excitement of a relationship and Twitter patient and love and all that stuff is wonderful, right? But that's more kind of excitement. It's like, oh, this is exciting. Gut is intuition. Intuitive feel and gut is power. So you feel grounded and powerful in that feeling. And it's very different. Those two things are totally different. Shay, I've broken several hearts. And what I mean by that is I've had several women in your position bring their new boyfriends in for a session, and the energy and that hour, like I can pick up on so many things. And so I sit down with them afterwards and I say, here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's some of my concerns. And I'm really, and it's hard to be honest when their heart is like, oh, this needs to work. This is exactly what I want. But I'm honest anyways. And I've had several women break up with their boyfriends because they trusted me to give them this feedback, and they ran it through their gut, and their gut said, he's right. I know that I'm in denial about this, or I'm not looking at that. Now, I do want to say I've had several women meet with me where they've brought in amazing men and they've ended up like getting married, right? So I'm not just a home wrecker, like, but here's my point, Shay, is check your gut out, but you also have allies in your corner. And if you're wise, you'll listen to the people that you trust. And when your heart is saying, no, I don't want to look at the truth, you'll disconnect from those people that you trust. And if you find yourself doing that, then you're in dangerous waters. But if you can listen and you can hear the people that you trust, and you know they don't have an agenda other than just being honest with you, and then that's more feedback for you to really discern, should I move forward here or not? You're getting yourself to a place where I think you can really trust yourself, and at the same time use the team that you've built to help support you along this process. And you don't need to do this tomorrow because you don't have a guy that you're taking in to meet people yet, right?
Right.
But you can absolutely protect yourself. So
I think you're bringing up a good principle, Brandon, which is that it's not just taking them to you because you're God and you know the right, you can tell addicts from non-addicts every 5 minutes. It's more about the principle of, if I notice myself wanting to pull away from the important relationships in my life, that's probably part of my gut saying, hey, this isn't right. Whereas if I'm saying I'm willing and I'm ready and I want to be able to go get feedback from the people that I trust, and this is what I would say is, get feedback from as many of those people as you trust, and filter that all through your own, senses, and see what ends up at the back end being honest with yourself.
Right.
And, if you get one person saying, oh, he's awesome, he's amazing, and you get 6 people saying, hey, you might want to watch out for this particular thing, run that through and go, okay, maybe he is amazing, and maybe I need to address this particular thing if I'm going to progress in a relationship with a guy like this. And maybe you get done with it and you take a look at it, and some people said some things, you go, no, that actually doesn't really resonate for me, but I'm being honest with myself. It's not being blinded by that Twitter patient that Brandon's talking about.
Yeah.
Shay, do you want to know what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
So
I do.
It's way more about feel than it is about facts. So if they come in and they give me all the right facts of things, that doesn't really matter that much to me. What matters more to me is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from, like, in the way they're resonating with their energy, is really what I'm feeling out with that person. Question for you. The hypothetical. You have a man who gives you all the perfect answers and tells you that he's never looked at porn, and he never does, and he never will. Okay, you have that man. Versus you have the man who says, yeah, I do struggle, and I work on it, and here's what I do to work on it and manage it, and at times I fall, and at times I struggle. Which guy are you more leaning toward here, Shay?
The one that's being honest.
But I wonder about your trauma trigger coming up and saying, oh, my dad was a porn addict. I was married to a porn addict. Like, I can't have this again.
Yeah.
So I this perfect guy over here, but your gut saying that's a bunch of BS. Right? Your gut saying that.
Yeah.
But I want to believe that because that's what I wanted, right? That's the old you that would have taken that guy, correct?
Yes.
Versus, and you said it when your husband got into some recovery for 4 months. It was short-lived, but he was vulnerable. He was honest. I could connect to him. You can feel that from a person. You can feel that humility from a person, and a partner who's willing to say, hey, I'm a work in progress and I'll continue to do this work on myself. That's the type of person you're looking for, right?
Right.
There might be a third guy to throw into that mix too, Brandon, which is you ask those same questions and he doesn't say, no, I never had a problem. He says, oh yeah, I used to have a problem, but that's all in the past.
Which some of that could be true.
But the energy, and that might be true, but the energy of what you're getting at, Brandon, is that a guy who's actually in real recovery, even if it is in the past, he understands that recovery is a process.
He's still working.
He's still able to speak process and not just like, well, no need to talk about that anymore. That's a thing of the past. That's all done. Like, yep. I can't tell you how many times I've had guys like say it was a thing of the past because it was like a week since the last time they acted out. Right. In that conversation. But if you get to an actual discussion, you can have a guy say, these are the things that I've learned. These are the things that have changed me. I'm not worried about looking at porn today because that's not part of my life anymore, but this is how I live my life. And if you see him being able to speak the ways that he's living and it lines up with what he's actually doing, then you're going to get that sort of like gut feeling of, oh, we're looking for what Brandon's getting at is the feelings that you're going to get are going to come from the principles of things like accountability, transparency, authenticity, humility. And if you're getting those inside of the relationship in all aspects of the relationship as you're moving forward, that's going to settle with you in a way that's going to be like, oh, okay, he's not perfect, but he's safe. Whereas if you're getting these weird lip service things here, but the behaviors and the feelings aren't lining up with the lip service, then something inside your being is going to say, ooh, something's up here,
Yeah. Yeah. I like a lot of what you just said. Like running it through other people. Like my brothers, when they met my ex-husband the very first time, they were like, no, don't go
really
there. Yeah. The very first, my little brother in particular is really good at reading people, and I didn't listen to him. But yeah, I like that.
And he has your back.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So look at that. He has your back and you didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
Because some fear was there of about not being lovable that was overpowering listening to that feedback. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
The key here is that you still get to own your choices, because there are times, I was told early on by people certain things that I shouldn't marry my wife, and I made the choice to do it, and it was the right thing to do. So you still have to own your own choice. Mm-hmm. Right. But it's helpful to get lots of perspective to make your own choice with.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have someone like a little brother who has your back, you can take what he's saying and go.
He doesn't hold all the cards, is what Tyler's saying.
Yeah. You can take what he's saying and say, I'm so grateful that he's willing to speak those concerns. And some of those concerns might actually be valid. Are those the types of things that I could tolerate and deal with as I move forward if those things are true?
Yeah.
And if the answer is, yeah, I can handle that, the good thing about that is that you're still owning your choice instead of just being dictated to by anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still go to a couples ARP group, which has been really, really amazing to know their story and see where those couples were able to get to, but also being able to be with the addicts in the room and to be able to feel the difference of what recovery looks like and doesn't look like.
You can feel that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really helpful when I was going through the thick of everything, to be able to feel the difference. But they've also said that when I start dating, they're like, you can bring them along and then they're going to fill it out too.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I would love it if my daughter married a sex addict, Yeah. Did you hear what I just said?
I did.
In recovery, a sex addict in recovery.
In recovery.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. Because I know that he's done some real soul searching and hard work and really found himself and figured out who he is. And so the weakness and fear attracts weakness and fear. So when we're talking about this like session you come into with your guy and blah, 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 you're looking for strength. And when you trust your gut, Shea, and kind of how you're feeling, you're getting a sense of what that actually feels like. What is healthy masculinity and strength versus what is fake strength? What is consuming you, using posing,
perfectionism.
And he's not going to be perfect. This strong guy who's going to create safety for you, he's not going to be perfect, and he's going to have strength enough to own his imperfections in a transparent way. And that can build trust in your relationship. And that's what you want. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I've figured out through all of this, like through my divorce, that I really am someone who values honesty and transparency, having each other's back, all those things, because they were principles that I fought for and ultimately led to my divorce, but they were that important to me that they were worth the fight.
Shea, Brandon and I have been doing a lot of the talking. Is there anything else on your mind or your heart right now?
Well, I do have one more question.
Okay.
I don't know how far along in time we are, but I have wondered, because you talk a lot about recovery being about recovering yourself. And so as a mother, I've wondered, how do I foster that in my children from a young age, kind of to avoid them developing an addiction? Like, how do I help them know themselves from the get-go rather than looking for it in unhealthy ways?
Really good question. As you were asking the question, we talk a lot about these concepts on the podcast, but I'm thinking of Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, and the way that she paints the picture of how to cultivate the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset. And I actually think that developing and working really hard to help our kids develop the growth mindset actually in some ways inoculates them from the need to go and find these compulsive ways to cope with life, because they, in a growth mindset, they don't have to hide anything. They get permission to learn, make mistakes. They realize that their value doesn't hinge upon their performance. So much of that starts to take away, all those are all the things that end up leading to like an addiction. And so as parents, if we can take a step back and look at our kids, I love what Brene Brown said in one of her talks one time. She said, when our kids come into the world, we look at them and we go, they're so perfect, and we're going to make sure that they do this and this and this, and they're going to go through all the things and have a perfect life and never have any pain. And she said, what we should do is we should look at them and we should say to them, you are flawed and imperfect, but you are absolutely worthy of love and belonging. And if we would raise our kids with that kind of a perspective, you would have a lot fewer of the problems that we see in our culture today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Well, yeah. I love what Tyler just said, Shea, and because it leads to a more transparent, kind of open life. But I want to take my stab at it too here. I think it's two things mixed together with your kids, and with your partner in a marriage. It's kind of the same principles. It's empathy and honesty and structure. So like yesterday, it was a mess at my house. My kids, with all of their glory, were being themselves. And they all manifest it in very different ways. And it was hard to stay in there, but they need to know that they're heard, so that I can feel what they're feeling and I can love them in that space. And so even if it feels ridiculous to me. Or like, what, like, why are they acting like this? Like, for me to just get to know them and understand their hearts. On the flip side of that is for me to say, and there's consequence for certain behaviors. And if I just get to know them and just love them and say, do whatever you want with no consequence, then they don't learn that in this world and in this life, there's consequences. So it's really holding strength within myself to know who I am, to allow them to be who they are, which is different than me, and to love and care about who they are, but also not caretake for them and allow those natural consequences to come. And that's kind of what I think is most important to teach your kids. So.
Sometimes, Brandon, the natural consequences are actually created consequences that a parent has to make based off of, the principles that they're trying to teach their children.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter did 2 extra chores yesterday.
Right. That's not a natural consequence, but that's a consequence to something.
Right. Yeah. So, but my daughter did 2 extra chores, but I didn't, I tried not to. I was not perfect. I didn't shame her into that. I was like, oh, that's too bad. You have to do that. You made that choice. And I know that's hard. Right. So,
Brandon, I want to go a little bit further with what you just said back into kind of like what Shea was asking originally with the dating world that you're living in, because I think the advice that you just gave Shea for her kids is actually spot on for how to handle dating too.
Right.
Where if you want to have the best possible relationship as you move forward on your side of things, you're going to have to learn, and this is the scary part, to trust yourself enough to know that you can manage the pain when you live vulnerably and authentically, because in this world, you will get rejected more times than you will be accepted before you find the right person to be with.
Yeah.
And if you know that you can meet yourself with compassion and kindness and reground yourself and cope with those emotions, then you can show up authentically with being yourself in the people that you date. And you can hope that those people will do the same. And then as they do that, you can value them being their own individuals. You can welcome them being their own individuals. And then as things show up that don't align with your values, you can address those through your boundaries. Yeah. And as you do that, it'll be this sifting process that will move people in and out pretty quickly until you find one that sifts all the way through. That's like, hey, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but man, we sure do line up with our values and the direction we want to take our lives. And you being authentic, allowing for authenticity while still holding boundaries is what's going to end up producing the right relationship for you.
Yeah.
So
really what we're trying to describe is what secure attachment looks like in relationships, whether it's with your kids or dating, right? And how that actually plays out and how that looks.
Yeah. Yeah. I've wondered that because I don't think I've ever had that. Secure attachment.
Shea, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate somebody who comes on who's already down the road a ways and done such hard work. And you're courageous and you've done so many hard things. So good job. Keep it up. I know you're going to succeed because you know how to walk this path. So just keep walking it. You have a ways to go still. And you always will. We all do, right? So I appreciate you coming and being vulnerable with us today.
Thank you.
What you opened up today is definitely going to ring true for many of our listeners. You showed some courage and you spoke to the very pain point that they're experiencing. And thank you for your courage to come and share.
Yeah. And I just want to thank you guys. I might get emotional right now. But you really have been an important part of my journey, and the content you've put out there has been such a blessing to my life. And I like that quote that you always talk about, how the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Yes.
And so I'm looking for daily opportunities to practice courage. So this one is my daily act of courage. Coming to the show.
Into the cave today. Checked that off. Nice.
It might count for a couple days, actually. But
hopefully in the aftermath, when you hear this in a couple of weeks, you'll realize that there's maybe some treasure in it too. I don't know if you heard it today or not, but
no, I think
awesome.
There was a lot of great things that you said. And I signed up to go to your Radiant Dawn conference. So
Nice.
Awesome.
I'm really excited for that. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, we'll be excited to meet you in person. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. So thank you.
All right, you guys, if you like this episode, please don't be shy to share it. And thanks for listening. We'll see you later.